It's Brennan from Comicon, freshly back from Las Vegas. My guest today, you've seen him here a bunch of times already. It's our friend Cullen Bunn. Cullen is here to talk about his Kickstarter that's live right now. Cullen Bunn's Triple Threat of Terror. Good morning, Cullen. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, I mean, Cullen Bunn's Triple Threat of Terror. You're at it again. You've got a Kickstarter going right now. Tell us a little bit about the campaign.
I decided I wanted to make a campaign that was as self-important as I am. So that's why it's called Cullen Bunn's Triple Threat of Terror. Um, no, it's a cool campaign. I think it's what we're doing is I'm working with Outland Entertainment. We're putting together three different one-shot issues, so three separate issues that are all on a part of the same campaign. So you back this, you can back one of them, you can back two of them, you can back all three of them, and get the whole experience. It's three very different sort of takes on the horror genre.
Right. And looking at these different titles here, I went through the Kickstarter. I got a little freaked out because I made all these notes and then I couldn't find them this morning, but now I've got them up in front of me. So the first one is Death Duel with Chainsaw Witches. You did this one with Diego Carvalho.
Yes,
This one says Death Duel with Chainsaw Witches presents a heavy metal horror as a trio of rocker witches wage a bloody war against demonic forces. Now, this one struck me because it's got a really heavy, like 80s metal vibe, but
yeah,
it also kind of flips the script on that satanic panic that we all lived through, where like these are actual witches fighting demons, whereas before, when we were going through satanic panic, they were against everything D&D, they were against everything witches, they were against everything television that had anything to do with monsters or witches, and here are witches who are fighting the forces of evil, and I think that's
right,
hilarious.
right. Look, we all know that in the end, witches are the only thing that are going to save us. So, uh, yeah, it's definitely got that '80s vibe. So all three of these books really came from the same place. I was thinking a lot about B movies that I liked
Mhm.
when I was a kid, like especially the movies of like Empire Pictures, which eventually mutated into Full Moon Productions. So these were like the VHS rent to own horror movies that I
Mhm.
was, or rent at to not rent to own. That's furniture. Um, Also in the '80s, I had a lot of rent to own furniture. But yeah, so there, that I would movies that I would rent from mom and pop VHS rental shops. I think about movies like Dungeon Master and
Mm.
Ghoulies and Terror
Yeah.
Vision, and all of those movies kind of have an influence in here. And Death Duel with the Chainsaw Witches is sort of inspired in part by movies like Black Roses or Trick
Mhm.
or Treat. That just a lot of heavy metal, a lot of demons, and then yeah, three witches using chainsaws to cut their way through the demonic hordes.
That's fantastic, fantastic. The second one on here, Long Pig and Azrael. It says a road trip buddy adventure featuring a lonely wanderer and the hungry monster he's promised to keep fed. This one has a lot, like I picked up a few things in just like the artwork and stuff on it, but it's really like a rolling one set story. So you have one set piece and everything takes place in it's kind of like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but with this demon in a bag kind of thing. So tell us a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it says. We've got this sort of sad hitchhiker character who goes by the name Long Pig, traveling these dusty back roads, and he's made this deal with this creature called Azrael to keep it fed, and that they've sort of formed this weird friendship or frenemyship, and this is the story of really how far can Long Pig go? How much can he take? And at what point is he just going to say enough is enough? I can't do this anymore.
And so you were working on this one with Emmanuel Casallos, Paul Little, and Shannon Potratz.
Yes.
Um, the artwork is very different in these. So why for this story did you go for this aesthetic? For the other story, you went with the other aesthetic. Like they're very very different. So
Yeah.
how did you choose?
Well, Diogo was the right guy for Chainsaw Witches. He had that sort of grindy, over
Mhm.
the top look that I really wanted for that. With this one, with Long Pig and Azrael, I really wanted something that was a little more grounded, a little more,
Mhm.
a little a little more real world, and
Mhm,
I knew he could tell a story where you could actually feel sort of the dustiness in the air and
mhm,
sort of the heat of wandering down a desert road. He managed. I knew he could pull that off. And
mhm,
I've also worked with him in the past. I knew he's no stranger to crazy action,
mhm.
and I was excited to see what he'd do with this monster.
Well, the colors in here too, they remind me, I went out I have to so my truck got done for SEMA, and I have to do these, Instagram posts and stuff, so I went out to the oil fields yesterday during golden hour and took pictures of my truck.
Right?
But it really reminds me of, like, desert golden hour lighting.
Yeah.
Inside the car, you've got these really warm tones on the characters' faces and stuff, so when you're talking about being grounded or whatever, it really gives a sense and a feel of
Yeah.
what they're where they are.
It's one of those stories that all of the horrific elements take place in broad daylight. It's very Chainsaw Massacre in that way.
Mhm.
It's a horror story that takes place in by the light of day.
And then the last story is The Window. This one you worked with, I hope I'm saying this right. Is it Loay
Yeah,
Garwin
yeah,
and Paul Little and Shannon Potratz again? It says The Window follows a family who moves into a new home, only to discover that one window looks out on an alien world filled with insidious monsters. This is a like a Forbidden Door story. This is
yeah, absolutely.
Coraline and a couple of other ones. I think Stephen King did a Forbidden Window, right?
Secret window, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
a this house on the borderland kind of vibe. What I found though is at some point in my past, I mean, and I know where all this comes from. We could have a long hours and hours discussion of where this trauma comes from. But I do a lot of stories about houses and a lot of stories about moving into houses you might not want to live in, about
Hmm.
moving into rundown houses that seem to have secrets that you may not want to uncover.
Hmm.
That motif features in a lot of my stories. So the windows is visiting that again, and it's about a family who's gone through some terrible things and is really sort of unraveling.
Hmm.
And and their life feels very strange and alien to them right now. And then they
Hmm.
look out the window, and yes, there is a very an honest to god alien world on the other side. And how does that change how they're interacting with one another?
Nice. And I'm looking at the artwork on this one, and it's very pedestrian. They're driving up. It's any neighborhood USA, and it's got the cracks in the driveway and the bent post for the mailbox, and just a normal looking house, normal looking family that walk in, and then all of a sudden you see this moment of realization when the little boy goes into the room that's got the water heater and the washing machine, and all of a sudden there's green glow, and he kind of like sees. And without any words or anything going on right here, this 3 pages right here just sets up the story beautifully.
Yeah, Loy's just really good at getting a lot of emotion across on the faces of these characters.
Mhm,
Uh, so yeah, I don't know. On those 3 pages, I don't think you even see anything terrible really, but you can experience it through the eyes of the little boy who's looking out
mhm.
at this awful place.
Right, and he's doing that thing that every little kid does at the first time that you walk into a new house is where you go to each room. So he starts,
Yeah,
there's the family room, there's the kitchen, whatever, and it's when he gets to that utility room that all of a sudden it's like, wait, what is this? So it's a very cool opening sequence. Doesn't require any words at all.
yeah. I mean, there was a moment in some of that I was like, it's possible it could have been a silent comic even, but
Mm.
I mean, he gets a lot of stuff across even just with the visuals. It's not a silent comic though. I
It can't be
again
a silent comic. I don't think.
self importance. I have to make sure my words are out there.
Nice, nice. Okay, so the backer rewards. This is I think right now, as of the time of this recording, there's about 10 days left. So we're gonna try and get this up quick and dirty. So don't make any mistakes, so that Eric doesn't have to edit. Um, but right now, so if you go to back, you can get a PDF of one story. It starts at $5. That's very reasonable. The 3 PDF bundle is $12. All three of these stories are 22 pages each, full color. They're all great stories. Print copy kicks in at $10. All three for $25. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You can get these autographed, which boring, whatever, but you can get them
Yawn,
autographed.
yawn fest.
You can get them autographed and soaked in blood. And who was it that just did was it who was it? They laid out all their CDs and they're throwing paint all over the room. I can just imagine Cullen Bunn in one of those Tyvek suits with a bucket of blood just pouring it all over these comics.
Yeah, it's an experience. Yeah, so if you do the bloodied edition, I will sign them in red, and then I will individually bloody each and every one of bloody in quotation marks each and every one of these comics. So there'll be handprints. I'll punch them. I'll spatter them. And so everyone will be completely unique. And I do these by hand. Uh, the last batch I did for another project, I did them in my studio, and I didn't even put like plastic down or anything, and it was a nightmare. What a mess. So this next batch will probably be done in the garage. But yeah, it is a carnage soaked line of comics spread out before me with blood, and my hands are, the last time it took me days to get my hands to not be red anymore. They were red for days.
So Home Depot sells Tyvek suits and they sell rubber gloves. I'm just saying.
Again, that yawn fest. If you're gonna do it, you just gotta get in there and get bloody. You wanna, the gloves. People want those fingerprints so they can steal my
Mm.
identity.
Now, so when you say blood, is that your blood? Is that pig's blood, or is that red paint? What are we doing here?
It is a mixture. It is a mixture that is much like how every comic is very different. The mixture that I use for every time I do this, completely different. But it is usually it's going to be a lot of fake blood, a little bit of paint. It is no real blood.
Mhm. Now, promise me if I back at this level that you're not going to punch mine because that's going to ruin the grading.
I will look. Once the blood gets spattered, I think that may affect grading anyway. I don't think that the professional grading companies have a bloodied category, but
No, but they would consider that for the signature series as part of the signature, I think.
all right. Well
So
then,
what? That's a remark for the signature series, so they
all
would
right.
still
If they
grade it.
can,
But if
so
you,
I won't punch it then.
all right,
I'll
cool, cool.
stomp it, maybe throw it down. If you want, I mean, look.
Nice.
If you really want, this is about being. These comics are about an experience. These bloodied comics.
Mm,
It's not just
got
a.
you.
It's not just about your precious grading.
Nice, nice. But some people do like the grading, and that's why I mentioned it. Some people do. Some people buy them as readers, and that's great.
Sure.
But you can also get PDFs and the physical. I mean, there's a bundle that includes
Yeah.
both of those. So if you're going to do a
Yeah.
reader and then you want to do
But
one for grading, you can do it both ways.
the bloodied edition definitely includes the PDFs as well. So if
Sure.
you get those, you're going to get the other ones.
Right. And then the crown jewel, I think, for experiences on here is like, I've talked to Colin a lot of times, and I kind of take it for granted sometimes that I can just be like, hey, do you want to do an interview about a thing? And you're just on my screen and we do this. But from a fan perspective, being able to talk to a creator that they've looked up to, that they've admired, if you're an aspiring creator, if you just love Harrow County, if you love the books that Cullen does or whatever, at a pretty reasonable rate here, you can get like the whole set of books and talk to Cullen Bunn for half an hour. So if you're trying to get advice on how to break into comics, if you're trying to get a script kind of, notes on a script, not exactly a script review, I don't think, for 30 minutes, but if you're trying to get notes on things you're trying to do, or if you just want to have a conversation about cryptids or whatever the hell it is, at the $100 level, you get all the books and you get to talk to Cullen for half an hour. And I think that's a really cool thing. That's a connection that a lot of people don't get. And it seems like
Yeah,
a really cool bonus feature.
I've done them on other Kickstarters. They always go over really well. It's a fun way to meet some folks that maybe don't get to go to conventions where I am or
Mhm.
signings where I am, and it allows us to have that conversation. And like you said, it can be about almost anything. The almost is important, but we can talk about whatever you want to.
Nice. That's fantastic. All right. So we're going to drop the link in the notes here. I want to thank you, Cullen, for your time this morning. It is Cullen Bunn's Triple Threat of Terror. You can do that in the Google search bar. We're also going to drop the link in the notes right here. But the backer rewards start at $5. They go up to $100 for $100. You can talk to Cullen for half an hour about almost anything you want. Don't get into weird sex stuff because that is not fun with him. The titles are Death Duel with Chainsaw Witches, Long Pig and Ezreal, and The Window. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Cullen.
Thank you.